Okay, let's continue that. So, power of a team, really important. Think about how the team fits together, how you want to build a scalable team. Don't forget that building a team does not happen overnight. You have to think kind of longer term. It's important to build a staffing plan. Think about what employees do we need today during startup, what employees are we going to need as we grow in early growth, what type of employees in the longer term growth, kind of build a staffing plan for that. Just start thinking along those lines. I remember we're building these intangible assets that are our team members. How do you keep employees motivated, right? There's a big difference between an employee that is just working, just grinding away at the work, versus a founder or an important employee who has a lot of burden and responsibility on their shoulders. So keep that in mind, that if it's just an employee that you can pay per hour, there's no better way to say it, but they're expendable. If you have an employee that has a lot of burden and responsibility and a very important employee of the company, you want to keep them on board, and you should probably consider some type of distribution of shares or revenues. These are some options that you have for yourself. I think phantom stock is pretty interesting. Restricted shares are also interesting. Definitely something to consider moving forward. How do you retain these employees from startup throughout the growth of the organization? Another thing to consider is your external board members, your external team members, pardon me. As you grow, you're going to need better and better accountants, better and better lawyers. So of course, I have an okay accountant. He's all right. But when I start making more money, I'm going to want to have a better accountant that will be able to save me more taxes, so I don't have to pay for the potholes that never get fixed. Same thing with lawyers. I might be able to have a basic lawyer right now for the basics, but down the line, maybe I want to have step up, get a better lawyer, a better accountant to help me do business in a better way. You also have your board members, board of advisors, directors, and outside investors that also serve as external team members. These are all they're not part of your core team, but they're definitely important to consider. Keeping the team together, remember that startup environment is not exactly the easiest environment to work in. It's a stressful environment, it's a stressful context, and keeping the team together through a good corporate culture, a culture that is welcoming, but also a culture that basically keeps people happy and reduces the stress level, is something that you should definitely consider. The culture itself. I kind of joked around about it, I guess, 2 classes ago, maybe a few months ago, saying that startups, you're pretty much enslaving your employees, making them work like 80 hours a week. If you don't have a good corporate culture, they're not going to stick around, right? It's a lot of hard work. So the culture element, why is Google such a great place to work at? Because if it was a great place to work at, people wouldn't be working like slaves 80 hours a week. I know I'm kind of taking a pessimistic approach, but it's true, right? If you don't have a good corporate environment, who's going to stick around working these crazy hours? You have to love what you do, and you have to love the people that you're working with in the organization. There are, of course, a lot of challenges associated with startups. It's definitely something to consider as well as you're talking about it. There's burnout, family pressure, interpersonal conflicts. These have to be dealt with right away. It's almost like, I guess, the butterfly effect. It could be a small conflict today, could lead to a huge storm in a few months from now or a year from now. So make sure that whatever problems that exist, they are dealt with immediately, swiftly. Okay, the concept of social entrepreneurship. I think we covered it through the case of Jason Dellis, who was the guest speaker. I think it was a great example, a great opportunity actually to think about it for many ways, but one of the reasons that I think is a great opportunity was because Jason's product was one that worked in the social entrepreneurship context. To answer Debbie's question, she asked, what is the hybrid model? What does it actually mean? What's the difference between hybrid and social consequence, for example? So hybrid is, and I couldn't answer it, but now I can because I looked at the book and it's a small paragraph. It's hybrid basically means that it's hard to determine for the entrepreneurs what is more important, social or profit. So basically they're equally important. Social side and profit side are equally important for hybrid businesses. Remember, traditional is profit first, your typical company. Social purpose, society first, then profit. Consequence, profit first, then society. And non-profit, just reinvest any money, any revenues back into the company. Now, again, this on its own is not enough meat to answer a whole question, So you have to pull from other elements, right? Understand general trends in entrepreneurship. Understand the social entrepreneurship possibilities as you're reading the case, right? Again, remember, read the questions before you read the case, and quickly eliminate the questions that aren't there, and focus your energy and your thought process as you're reading and as you're taking notes on the sidelines on what are the concepts that can be applied, how can they be applied. Growth. So again, we spoke about it last class in great detail. I think this is a great concept. There's lots of things you can talk about in terms of growth, right? Growth from startup phase, early growth, later growth. This is the growth model. There are essentially 4 driving forces: opportunity, resource capabilities, leadership, and execution. These are 4 driving forces. Then you have your external elements of that you cannot control: environmental conditions, uncertainty, and you also have your stakeholders. I think this is a great model, and if you had a question like this on the exam, there's lots and lots you can talk about. Remember, it's always a balance between how much you write and how much time you have for other questions. So make sure you find that balance. But I definitely think that there's a lot of opportunity to talk about a lot of different components using this model. Legal and tax issues. I'm just going to stop this and restart it.